This is 2.3 Fatigue and Recovery. There are lots of reasons for fatigue, including PC depletion, glycogen depletion, lactic acid buildup, carbon dioxide heat, and calcium levels and acetylcholine. Fatigue levels will depend on what sport an individual is playing. In football and rugby, there will be areas of recovery, which will be aerobic. ATP then will be resynthesized, and they will go through all the energy systems. On the other hand, javelin is a very short duration, therefore you're less likely to go through all the energy systems, and therefore it's less likely for lactic acid to build up, and different events will have different levels of fatigue. The assignment scenario is that I've taken part in various fitness tests, and I've recognised that I've felt fatigue in lots of different tests. So to help improve my performance in the tests, I want to understand the factors that make me fatigue. This is the assignment criteria. Causes of fatigue. A main cause of fatigue is a build-up in waste products, such as lactic acid. This inhibits the glycolytic enzymes. Enzymes work at an optimum pH, and if this changes, the enzymes will denature. This means the active site will change shape and the substrate won't be able to fit into the enzyme. Moreover, if someone is training at a high altitude, they will receive a lack of oxygen. This means that less oxygen will be going to the working muscles. Therefore, this will mean no energy, and the muscles will not be able to work properly. Other causes of fatigue is depletion in energy sources. If an energy source runs out, the athlete will hit a wall. This is very common in marathons and very rare in 100-metre sprints. Finally, the last cause is neuromuscular fatigue. With this fatigue, not enough calcium is being released, and therefore sliding filament theory cannot take place, which means muscles will not have as much power, and they will not have powerful contractions. Fatigue is the extreme tiredness resulting from mental or physical exertion or illness. As you can see from the definition, physical exertion is one of the main problems with long-distance runs like a marathon. The main energy sources that I'm going to talk about is PC and glycogen. PC is also known as phosphocreatine. The length of the PC system is usually around 10 seconds. After this, the lactic acid system takes over. PC starts because it's simple and easy to get energy, but also it is stored in the muscles and it's already there for use. An athlete will work better if they're able to have a longer PC store. Therefore, they don't go into their lactic acid system very quickly. Therefore, they won't fatigue as much. This will be very important to a 400-metre runner, as they're running at quite a high intensity. Therefore, the quicker they go into the lactic acid system, the more fatigue they'll get, and this will result in a slower race. However, for a 100-metre runner, this doesn't really matter, as they will only be running for around 13 seconds. Therefore, they will only have just gone into a lactic acid system, so it doesn't really affect their race. Another example of PC is in basketball. You'll sprint for around 10 seconds to get from one end of the pitch to another, and all the PC will be used up. However, when you have a break, there will be aerobic replenishment, which means that PC will be put back together for further use. The table above shows a Wingate test done on 14 people. I've picked out Ellis and George, they're highlighted in red. As you can see from the fatigue index, which is the drop in power from peak power to the lowest power, and it's in watts, the lowest power usually occurs at the end of the test. Ellis has the lowest percentage and he has the lowest peak power. This could be because he doesn't need maximum power in his sport and therefore is not used to it. However, when you look at Ellis's power output, you can see that there's only 609 watts, whereas George Fisher is almost double Ellis's. And George's fatigue index was only 6% higher than Ellis's. This could be because they both didn't build up much lactic acid, which is a fatiguing substance. Moreover, this could be because George is physically fitter than Ellis, therefore his muscles are used to the powerful contractions. As you can see from the graph below, this is a repeated Wingate test done on sprints. Each line represents one sprint and there are 5 lines. The first one has the highest power and the last one has the lowest. This is because each time the individual is doing the test, they're building up lactic acid, and in their break, they're removing it. However, the break isn't long enough for the whole of the waste products to be removed and for PC to be replenished. Therefore, their power is going to decrease. If you can delay the depletion in PC stores, you delay the lactic acid system, which means you won't fatigue as much. However, because there's only a limited supply of PC, it will only last for around 3 to 10 seconds, for example, a long jump. ATP only lasts for 3 seconds, so this is just enough to do a shot put. After PC, we use the lactic acid system. This causes fatigue. PC, in its natural store, can be replenished very quickly. For example, in football, someone will do a quick sprint to get the ball, then they'll have a rest while they're waiting in defence, which means that aerobic respiration will be taking place and PC will all be bonded back together with the use of a little energy. At all starts of exercise, you'll use your PC quickest because it resynthesizes ATP. In a marathon, at the start, we use the PC system. In the middle of the race of the marathon, you may speed up to overtake someone. This will once again use your PC system. And at the end, you may sprint to get past the line in a quick time, and again, you'll be using your PC system. Typically, bodybuilders take creatine. One of the first reasons why they take creatine is because it will help them increase their overall work intensity, which means they'll be able to achieve higher levels of muscle mass. Since creatine helps intensity of the recovery rate of the muscle cells, it also means that they don't require as much rest time between each workout. So overall, it will increase how much work they're doing each time, so they can work for a longer duration at a higher intensity and build more muscle mass. Different activities will use different systems and therefore different energy sources. During long exercise, for example a marathon run, liver and glycogen levels will become depleted, therefore blood glucose levels will decline, and this can lead to hypoglycemia, which is where there isn't enough blood glucose as the individual has run out of glycogen and glucose stores. Therefore, when watching a marathon, it's not uncommon to see individuals collapsing. This is because they have reached extreme fatigue. During extreme fatigue, an individual may feel sick or dizzy. While the individual is in hypoglycemia, catabolic hormones will start to break down an individual's muscle protein, and in the long run, this can cause muscle atrophy, which is where your muscles decrease in size. However, this hormone is able to convert protein to glucose, which will increase the blood sugar levels so that the individual is able to keep running. For example, while running the last few miles of the marathon, some individuals will have very low blood sugar as they've not topped up on supplements during the race. Therefore, it is vital that the hormone is there to give them a higher blood sugar. On the other hand, people can become hyperglycemic, which is where their blood sugar becomes too high. Glucose is a key substrate to a brain, and if the individual runs out, this will cause central fatigue. Central fatigue is a form of fatigue that is associated with changes in the synaptic contraction of the neurotransmitters within the central nervous system. This can cause an individual to feel sleepy or tired. During a marathon, if glycogen stores are not being replenished, this could be at water stations, in like a glucose drink, the individual's glycogen stores will run out. If there are not enough stores of glucose, then there have to be an alternative way. This is gluconeogenesis. This process is slow and complex, and this means that fat and protein can be converted. However, because it's slow and complex, it's not very efficient. As you can see by this graph, it shows how muscle glycogen stores can become reduced as the time of activity increases. This shows a low intensity activity such as a marathon run. You can see by 1 hour the percentage had dropped from 100% to 40%. This is a rapid decrease, therefore it's vital in marathons that individuals keep up their glycogen stores high enough for them to keep running. If this muscle glycogen line becomes too low, they'll not be able to carry on with their exercise as their fatigue will be too high and too extreme for them to carry on. Carboloading is when an individual saturates the muscle with stored glycogen by exercising and dieting, and then shortly before a competition, eating a large amount of carbohydrates. Carboloading would be most useful for an endurance athlete such as a marathon runner or even a 1500-meter runner, as it maximizes storage of glycogen in the muscles and in the liver, and this will prevent the individuals using the muscle protein as an alternative. This can result in muscle atrophy. An example of carb loading is a large pasta meal before a race. However, if you have this food too near to the race, then the digestive system will not have digested the food properly, and the blood will be diverted to the muscles, also known as blood shunting. This could result in a decrease in performance. There are some side effects of carb loading, which include weight gain, digestive discomfort, blood sugar change, and muscle stiffness. Now I'm going to talk about the effects of waste products on an individual and how carbon dioxide, lactic acid, and heat affect the performance of an individual. Carbon dioxide is produced within the muscles, and when you work more, the more carbon dioxide you produce. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of cellular respiration. In the cells, respiration happens in the mitochondria. Chemoreceptors are able to detect the changes in acidity in the blood. Therefore, the more carbon dioxide you produce will increase the acidity of the blood. If this is not detected, then the pH levels will affect the enzyme activation. Therefore, chemoreceptors are there to be able to increase or decrease heart rate and breathing rate. It's essential that carbon dioxide is removed. There are 3 ways in which it is removed. The first one is that carbon dioxide is dissolved into the blood plasma. However, only 3% of it is removed this way. The next way that it's taken out is from the muscles attached to hemoglobin. This is called carbaminohemoglobin. The carbon dioxide diffuses across the semi-permeable membrane across a concentration gradient of high to low concentration. Once the hemoglobin has associated with the carbon dioxide, it will be taken to the alveoli where it will diffuse into the alveoli across the concentration gradient. This is where it will be expired. 23% of carbon dioxide is removed this way. The main removal of carbon dioxide is through carbonic acid. 70% of carbon dioxide is removed this way. Carbonic acid uses bicarbonate and hydrogen. The hydrogen increases the acidity, which decreases the pH. If carbon dioxide is not removed from your body, then it will affect the enzymes working within your body as pH. They like an optimum pH, therefore if it goes over or under, the enzyme activation will become lower. Lactic acid is produced anaerobically. The more energy we make anaerobically, the more lactic acid that is produced. This means that there will be an increase of the acidity and a decrease in pH levels, making the blood much more acidic. This means that the glycolytic enzymes are unable to work as well. Enzymes work best at an optimum pH. For example, in the stomach, the enzymes work best at a slightly acidic pH compared to other enzymes in the body that work best at neutral pHs, so a pH of 7. If the pH changes in the blood, it will affect the enzymes by changing the shape of their active site. This means that the substrate is unable to fit into the active site, and therefore there will be no reaction that's taking place. This is bad as the enzymes in the lactic acid system are unable to convert glycogen to energy. Physiologically, this means that the individual running will have to slow down. The acidity will trigger pain receptors, and this will cause pain in the muscles. For example, if a marathon runner produces too much lactic acid, they may have to stop, as the pain will be too great for them to carry on.